And President Trump's wiretapping claims? We're talking about it with a former CIA official who's really good. And next, it was the interview that even I couldn't believe.
Many of these children who are coming in stop their formal education at 3rd grade, but they are growing well into adulthood, and we can't put them in a 3rd grade classroom. We had one man with graying temples. I couldn't see putting that person in a 3rd grade class, so they go in as freshmen in high school.
Whoa. Welcome back to Justice. That was last night. A local Massachusetts mayor talking to me about the problem she's having placing illegal immigrants, in many cases young adults, in our schools. This in the wake of the shocking case of a 14-year-old girl allegedly raped by 2 illegals in a Maryland school. Tonight, Mayor Judith Flanagan Kennedy is back with us, and we're also joined by Sheriff Thomas Hodgson of Bristol County, Massachusetts. All right, I'm going to start with you, Sheriff. The mayor was with us last night, and she was talking about issues in Lynn, Massachusetts that I think most of my viewers and I myself was not aware of, and that is that with the influx of illegals and immigrants, that there is a requirement that they be educated in schools, and that many of them come in with no background, no paperwork, nothing, that they then are being tested in the schools somehow, and then irrespective of their age are being placed in a school, some of the middle schools, where they are young adults with middle schoolers. Are you seeing that in Bristol?
Yeah, we are actually, Judge. What the problem is you have people coming in with say a 15 or 17-year-old with a 3rd grade level of education being put in a higher grade. We wouldn't do that with our own children. It's one thing to be brilliant and skip grades. It's another thing to take somebody who doesn't have the knowledge and putting them up to a higher level where they're going to be destined to fail. And in the instance where the teachers are making the efforts to try to educate that person in the classroom, because they are so far behind, it ruins the quality of education. It takes away from the kids in the class that are American citizens and legal residents, and it sets up this person to be in a situation where they further are going to fail because they're not going to be able to keep up. And it costs us more money for special ed teachers. They're spending more money on English teachers in the schools. And we're cutting our programs for our own children and ruining the quality of education for them by doing this.
All right, Mayor, what the sheriff is talking about is something that you made reference to last night, and that is that the American kids are being slowed down because the teachers are now being required, since the illegals who don't speak that well, understandable, and as you said last night, some of them don't even speak their own language that well, you know, are causing the teachers to have to explain what they're doing, holding back the American kids, not teaching the illegals that well, and they're all in the same classroom. I don't even want to get into the issue of these adults in the bathrooms with our kids, simply because they're mentally in the same grade.
I get it, and good to talk to you again, Judge. Hello, Sheriff.
Mayor,
I just want to make clear that 9th grade is high school for our kids, so these people are being placed in a high school setting, not a middle school setting. You have to understand that Lynn is a very diverse community. We have almost 6 languages spoken in our schools. So we do have challenges regardless of the immigration status of the people that are coming in. But the difficulty, again, becomes more a question of space and a question of the quality of education that we can provide to these newcomers, because a 3rd grade education level in a 9th grade setting just doesn't fit.
Okay,
no matter how you look at it.
5 languages. That's 60 languages. How do you hire a teacher in your school?
It's difficult. I just signed a purchase order that had Armenian, Farsi, and I think Lithuanian that the teachers need to try to communicate with these students. A lot of it has to be done by English immersion. We do sometimes have another student that will be able to interpret one way or another, but
okay,
it's a real challenge.
Mayor, let me ask you this. If I move from my town to the town next to me, I need to bring in a certification that my kid has had the vaccinations. I need to bring a birth certificate. I need to bring in all kinds of records, a resident requirement. What about the illegal who came from Central America who has no paperwork and no vaccinations? They just show up and that's the end of it?
That's about it. We are not able to, a lot of times during transit, we are told the records from their country of birth are not available. So we have to rely on...
Are you hearing that, Sheriff?
Yeah, this is an attempt to cover up the information. What they've done is they've taken away from the principals of the schools who used to require the person to say, number one, are you legal? Also getting the birth certificates and so forth. They've taken it away and centralized it so that we can't get that information. So the problem is that the teachers don't know, the principals don't know, and as you said, Judge, and you pointed out very well, why is it that we're held to a higher standard and the people who are violating the laws coming in illegally are not held to those same standards?
They're excused.
They're excused, and it creates all kinds of undercurrents in our school systems for our children in the way of quality education, in the way of safety for them, and so forth.
All right, Mayor Judith Flanagan Kennedy, Sheriff Tom Hodgson, we're out of time again. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks.